Our next speaker tonight is Colleen Morgan. Colleen is what we call a catalyst. She's a catalyst at the digital visual arts at the Edge, which many of you will know is up in Brisbane in their digital culture centre there on South Bank. Still there after the floods, I believe, even though it's probably a bit close, I think. The Edge was probably...
did get flooded.
You did get flooded. Still there, though. When she's not at the Edge, which was probably when it was flooding, Colleen is tinkering with sewable electronics or teaching a workshop which she calls Thread Tech. Colleen's also a PhD candidate at QUT, where she also teaches communication design. A lot of her work involves looking at the opportunities that exist for using intelligent systems to improve teaching and learning. And some of our other panel members are also interested in similar things. Her practical experience is varied from jewelry design to creating games for mobile phones, designing intelligent systems, or fostering independent learning using mobile devices. So if we could welcome Colleen.
Thank you, Ross. You make me sound very experienced. But today I think I'm here representing the newbie in our community. I started doing some tinkering around with sewable electronics about 6 or 7 months ago now. So I just wanted to bring what I've been doing and talk to you guys about that. But first up, I'll just tell you a little bit about The Edge, where I've been working. So The Edge is a digital culture centre up in Queensland. And it's basically a space that young people can come and use. We've got computer labs with a whole bunch of really good software on there for them to use. We run a whole series of workshops that go across a whole bunch of different creative fields. And so basically I've been a catalyst there for the last 6 months. And a catalyst, it sounds like a really embarrassing job title, like I love myself. So I get a bit embarrassed sometimes talking about it. But basically, The Edge brings in catalysts for 6 months at a time just to bring something new and keep bringing through innovation through the space and making sure we're having different creative types. And our job is to basically pass on our skills to the people that like to use our space. So when I saw the job for the catalyst, I thought, oh, great. This sounds like an awesome job for me, great distraction while I'm doing my PhD, because I would love to do something else. And it's only 1 day a week, so I went for it. And part of the job application process was to come up with a series of workshops that you might present. And I had been interested in this idea of sewable electronics. So using this job application as an excuse to kind of get me into actually doing something rather than just thinking about it, I applied and I said that I would do this stuff as my workshops without knowing a thing about it. So this was the first thing that I ever made. It's really pretty crap. I bought the cheapest LEDs you possibly can from J-Car. They were like 55 cents or something. I used some pliers to turn the backs of them into circle shapes that I could sew through. The thread there is conductive thread. And I'm just testing the circuit with the alligator clips. And those lights are actually lighting up, but you can't really tell on that image. This shirt here, which is not going to show up very well in this light, was the second thing I ever made. Can you guys see the lights in it? Or should I go into the darkness a bit more?
Go to the
I'll
darkness.
go to the dark.
Yes, Colleen, go to the darkness.
Oh, dimming the lights? I can put it under here.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So, ooh, sparkly. So that was the second thing I ever made, and I was really inspired by trying to make something that looked finished and concealed the technology in some way. And I really liked the way the lace diffuses the light. It doesn't make it look like, ooh, LEDs, you know, that wasn't the look I was going for. So that was me experimenting with that. And then after that step of going, okay, I kind of know what a soft circuit is and how to sew one, I decided to make the step to go to something a little bit more technical. And this is where I always wanted to get to anyway. So I bought what's called a LilyPad Arduino, which is that thing in the middle of that image up there. It's basically a microprocessor that you can sew into clothing, and then you can use programming to program little microprocessor to control lights or to control sensors. So the sensors along the bottom there are an accelerometer, a light sensor, and a temperature sensor. So you can sew any of these into any garments and then use the data that comes from your sensors to control lights so they can come on and off. What slide do I have next? This is a circuit diagram. So before you start sewing anything like this, because your conductive thread is the same colour whether you're sewing your positives or your negatives, it's really important to have a diagram so you don't just sew up a crazy storm and get a circuit that's short-circuiting all the time. And this is actually a circuit diagram for this scarf, which I made just in the last week. And it has a light sensor here. And I'm not sure, I configured it when the lights were different. I need to plug it in again, sorry. This is part of being a newbie. When I sewed my battery holder into this and then put my battery in, it all flipped out. So it's still plugged into my laptop because it wasn't flipping out with my laptop on. But see how the lights are coming on? And are they kind of dimming in and out as I'm doing that?
Yep. Maybe you need to go to the darkness again.
Again.
No, I think it's okay.
I think you can probably see that just now, but I tried to make it look like it would twinkle a little when it got really dark. So you could wear this and when you go into different contexts, it would change. So that was exciting. It's not the best thing ever, but it was exciting for me. Because when I ran my workshops, I spent so much time just testing circuits with alligator clips that I never really made much. I was just learning the code that goes in the background, So this is an example of some of the code that is similar to what's in this scarf. So this is Arduino, which is an open source program where you can write your code and upload it to your microprocessor, so the little Arduino. This was a massive learning curve for me. I've done a little bit of coding before in Flash, but not really anything proper nerdy-like. So I jumped into this world scared as anything because I had to teach it in a couple of weeks to other people. That was incentive, I tell you. So so learning a whole bunch of code's been really fun, actually. This is the inside of this scarf. That's where the lily pad is and the lights, just to show you what it's like when it's stitched. It's hard to know your positives and your negatives because, of course, it's a circuit. Your positive and negatives can't touch one another, otherwise you short circuit. I've been playing around with different ideas. So there's the idea that in your clothing you can use different things as conductors. So this was me just testing around to see whether press studs would work as conductors. So thinking about a garment that has circuits in it that when you put your press studs closed, it closes the circuit and something happens, or take it apart and it stops. And there's the same idea that you could do things like that with zippers as well. So I'm really excited about what else I can play around with. These are just some images from the workshops that I've been running. Best incentive ever to learn something is having to teach it. And I do that to myself all the time, deliberately, because I love learning. And it's how I make myself do it. I have, with each of the workshops that I have run with the sewable electronics, I've put them all up on SlideShare. So if you're interested in jumping into this world but don't know how, you can go and have a look. There's an introductory workshop which is just sewing a soft circuit, and then it steps it up and learning how to actually program that, and then steps it up again to using sensors. And that's just my Twitter. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Colleen. Fantastic to see those works there. Our next speaker is Damien Butler. Damien started his creative studio after leaving art school in order to enable him to work on hybrid art and design projects and to experiment. After becoming an adjunct teacher at the University of Sydney, Damien sort of got the feeling that there was a lot of lacking in the experimentation area for artists and designers after they left school. So this led Damien to found his own fab lab called Assemblage, which is a place of research for artists and for designers. Assemblage sets out to explore new digital technologies and tools like 3D scanning, rapid prototyping, laser cutting, CNC machining, and all the rest of that stuff in artistic practice. Assemblage's research is looking to find new ways of thinking about digital tools, and Damien's approach is not just to let these machines act as a replacement for our hand or the hand of the artist, but he's also interested in the way in which these machines might help to create a new aesthetic and to generate new ideas. So if we can welcome Damien.
Thanks, Ross. As Ross was saying, I studied at Sydney College of the Arts. I did sculpture and jewellery. A big kind of my passion, in particular when it came to studying jewellery, was the making process. And the opportunities that it opened up to reconsider the way that we put things together. So it started about probably a year and a half ago. Some good friends and I were looking for spaces in Sydney, and we'd go to space after space after space, and we'd be like, yeah, you can get a desk here. Oh yeah, we've got a big warehouse space. You can have the space over in the corner with the painted lines around it. And we decided that that really wasn't for us. So we decided to look for our own space. After a long hunt, we found 42 Kensington Street, and it's been named Assemblage. So the idea of Assemblage was to have many practicing creatives in the same space that weren't kind of stepping on each other's territories. We've got spaces that have many architects, we have spaces with all painters, we have spaces with all web designers in it. And the idea of Assemblage was that we had web developers, we had more sculptural artistic practice, if you, for lack of a better term. We have architects in it, and we have people that are playing around with even smell currently, which is the latest plug Nadia for her work. So as we progressed, this is a shot of the studio in its current mess state, because we're having a talk series, which was in the previous one, which was we wanted to start to engage with outside people coming in and seeing our processes. So we still have boring desks, but on those desks we like to have an immediate response and an immediate reaction to technology. I've actually brought along one of the machines. I've put the slides in the wrong order, but this is actually a baby CNC mill that I see as a bit of a kind of a game changer when it comes to technology. As the MakerBot changed the technology when it came to many people accessing 3D technology, this little CNC that's on this table here takes little toy motors and will probably retail for around the $800 mark. And so it allows you to just mill something out on your desk immediately without even overthinking it. See, I haven't even logged into my computer. So this is the CNC mill in action, and this is one of the students from the workshops we run. We're working with Australia Council for the Arts in providing workshops for young and emerging artists, and the idea is that it's a direct engagement with the tools and not just an outsourcing process. We want to kind of skip the middle ground when it comes to just provide, just saying, well, yep, we'll take your file and laser cut it, and start to introduce it as a process that is like handing back the paintbrush to a painter. It's the printing technology, and as we were talking about before, desktop printing technology in particular, removed artists, was the start of removing artists from the idea of process. We don't develop photos anymore in the same way, and that's where mistakes happen, and mistakes and risk is a part of the creative process, and that's kind of what we set out to do at Assemblage. The Based on Birds guys that were the web developers, they recently did an installation at Berkeley Books where they did a drawing machine, and the hiccups and they had to live at Berkeley Books just to make sure it was running, but at the same time it produced something that if they hadn't have been engaged with it themselves, they wouldn't have probably got to the end result. And so it has something of an emotional quality that we don't see in other works. So this is onto my work. I look at trying to blend together sculptural, like sculpture and design work, and took it upon myself to enter a competition, and it was for a bike racker's art. This was the proposal, and it got third place, which I was happy about. But we're still talking at the RTA, and one of the things that like this government body has is a certain way of working. And now that I've presented something to them that's very different, but actually just a manipulation of their already current technologies, it seems to open up new doors for the way that they think and their process and the way that they commission works. So hopefully it goes ahead. Sorry, I better keep going. Here's the laser cutting workshop. I got them all to start with scalpels. The students here got to engage with the laser cutter on a very immediate, more so than if they were outsourcing and sending something off to a supplier. So they were setting up the machines, they were turning it on, and one of the girls came to me, and she was very quite scared to do it, and she thought that I would just say no to her straight away, and she said, "Can I laser cut a potato?" I said, "Hell yeah, I want to see what happens." So just to kind of, again, assemblage has some public talks coming up. We're working with Super DAS on some projects. We've had gigs where the artists have worked in experimental ways, and we're running workshops. I can't scroll down because it's not the website. We're running workshops from laser cutting to 3D scanning to rapid prototyping to scripting, which is some of the architects will be running in the class, ARMA. And yeah, head to the website and check out more if you're interested.
Thanks very much, Damien, and we should especially thank him because one of his talks is actually on tonight. He should actually be there, but he came to this talk instead.